Welcome to another episode of the Iced Tea Podcast. Today, I'm talking with Adam Gold from the Adam Gold Show on 99.9 The Fan, and he's also the host of the Canes Corner podcast. We're talking about his relationship with the team and Coach Rod Brind'Amour and his many years of covering the Carolina Hurricanes. Iced Tea is a production of Mix 101.5 and presented by Lane & Associates Family Dentistry, where every patient is treated like family. Well, fantastic. We're going to get right to this because you and I have places to go, people to see with the Canes game. Yeah. But Adam Gold, welcome to the Iced Tea Podcast.
I am honored.
It is a pleasure, and it's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to have you on for a very long time.
Thank you.
And I would say welcome to the studio, but my goodness, you had the joy of using it the other day for your podcast and your post-game show.
I barged in on Saturday. I picked the lock. I jumped the fence. And I sat in that chair as I did Saturday's podcast after the game against the Kings, which didn't go very well.
I mean, listen, you needed a comfy chair after that one.
Oh, my gosh. Yes. Sure. It was a bit of a beating.
It was a bit of a beating. But so normally I start off by asking, what your home game day looks like. But before we dive into that, you, my friend, got an exclusive from Coach Rod Brind'Amour. I mean, as you do, you get a lot from him, but you went viral a couple weeks ago because of something he said. So I'm going to read the quote so everyone listening knows. Yeah. So Coach Rod Brind'Amour said this to you on your show. He said, "There has not been one guy that has left here because he didn't like it. That was except for Mikko. And he didn't not like it. When he showed up, he said, there's 4 teams I'll go play for, and you're not one of them." Mm-hmm. When he said this, what was going on in your mind?
Well, the first thing I thought of when he said that was, I'm recording this, right? No, seriously, I'm recording this. Yeah. You know that. That is what went through my mind. But Rod is incredibly passionate about what he does, about what this team is about. In ways, he's very protective of what this team is about. I think there is a narrative that I believe is incorrect about whether or not top players want to be here. And look, I don't expect everybody to know every little detail about, why Jake Guentzel didn't re-sign last year. I really thought we had litigated that the previous year by Jake Guentzel wanted to re-sign. And I think the front office has sort of admitted that they made the mistake. They tried to get Jake to come a little bit lower on his asking price because they had some things that they wanted to do in the offseason. For instance, and we don't have to get too deep into the weeds of this, but if they re-sign Guentzel and they still wanted to, Seth Jarvis's contract looks different. Martin Necas would never have been here this year. Mm-hmm. And some of the other things that they did would have also been different. Now, they were willing to do that, but so not everybody knows how the whole thing worked. They just tried to get Jake Guentzel to come down a little bit, which, frankly, his number was already lower than it would have been. And so they made that mistake, and they've owned it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't about him not wanting to be here. He wanted to be here. Vincent Trocheck wanted to stay. Brady Skjei, who you and I were, when we record this, we're going to see him for the first time at Lenovo Center tonight.
That's right.
He wanted to stay. I'm actually going to talk to Brady before the game.
Oh.
Yeah. So Brett Pesce, who I have spoken with since he went to the Devils, he wanted to stay. All these guys wanted to stay. Martin Necas, who I spoke with before the season started, he wanted to sign a long-term contract here. These guys want to stay.
Yeah.
They love the locker room. They love the guys. They love the city. So Mikko's girlfriend didn't like the city. That's basically what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And Mikko, I'm not sure he would have been comfortable playing this way because here's another thing. This is something that has stuck with me ever since that trade because a lot of fans wanted Rantanen to play a lot more. Mm-hmm. He's playing 22 minutes a night basically in Colorado. No forwards do that here.
Right.
Aho gets to 20. Mm-hmm. But nobody else really regularly plays that much. Seth Jarvis is getting close now. I love Seth Jarvis so much. He's
great.
But when I asked Rod about why isn't Mikko playing more, he goes, because we're asking him to do things that he has never been asked to do in Colorado. It's hard to play this way for 22, 23 minutes a game.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And that stuck with me because having watched Mikko the last several games after Four Nations, it became obvious to me that Mikko was either unwilling or he knew his time was short. That, okay, it's over. He'll get traded again. So he wasn't playing that way.
Right.
He wasn't doing the things that Rod wants.
And that brings me back to when so after I'm done post game, I go upstairs, I put my mic away and everything like that, and I can hear your post game. I hear it in the hallways at Lenovo Center. And I was walking and you said something the first game back after he was traded, and it was such a quote and it just stuck right here in my heart. You said, "The dark cloud has been lifted off of this team."
Yeah, it became a problem. And it became noticeable as a problem. And I was glad that Rod Brind'Amour, it was the second game after the break when they lost in Montreal. I was glad that he said it out loud because it was obvious to me in Toronto. It was obvious to me before. They were trying so hard to make Mikko love them.
Yeah.
And I alluded it to like the new girl in school for me. Right, not for, but so the new girl in school, don't try to make her like you.
Yeah,
that's not the way to do it. Be who you are.
Yes,
and if she likes you, it never happened for me. Then she'll like you.
Yeah,
and to me, the Hurricanes as a group tried too hard to make Mikko fall in love. And if it was going to happen, it was going to happen organically.
Yeah.
And it wasn't going to happen, apparently. And once they realized that they had changed the way they played to accommodate Rantanen and went back to playing the way they were winning in spite of Rantanen not playing well.
Right.
And so when Rantanen was traded, they didn't miss a beat. And they are now playing better than they ever played with Mikko. And I am not criticizing Rantanen the player. It's every great player is not a great fit everywhere.
Sure.
I've always said this, and this goes to every sport. The one thing that top athletes never consider, and it's to their detriment at times, is that don't ever discount how your surroundings impact your play. And the results of that play. And I would say the same thing for anybody.
Yeah.
So for me, and I know we're going to talk about a lot of things here, so I'll fold this personal about me. Not that I could have gone anywhere I wanted to do what I do. There have been some opportunities, but I felt, especially early on, that this was exactly where I wanted to be successful doing what I'm doing. So I have recognized the location you get to do things, get to do your job.
Yes.
And the people you get to do it with. That matters to your success. And I think most top athletes discount that. And I get it. You have an ego because you're great at what you do. You think I can do this anywhere. And I don't doubt that I couldn't do what I do anywhere, but I enjoyed it the most doing it here.
Right.
And I thought that mattered. And it just wasn't a good fit with Mikko. I don't think it ever would have worked out. I think the organization ultimately gets saved from having a, let's just say, $12.5 million a year albatross around its neck, because I don't think he would have been anything close to the player he was elsewhere here.
We'll just say, Mikko Rantanen was maybe the Regina George. Have you seen Mean Girls?
I have not. I have not.
We were talking about the new girl in school. That was
right, no, I get
immediately where my mind went.
It's fine. It's fine. Movies, and I try to quote the movies that I am most familiar with. I quote Bull Durham a lot.
Okay, yes.
Right?
That makes sense, though.
I quote all the Oceans movies a lot and Harry Potter. I do a lot of Harry Potter movies.
What house are you in with Harry Potter?
Gryffindor.
Do you know? You are, I would
Definitely
expect nothing else. Do you want to know what I am? I was a Slytherin. Can you believe it?
Wait a second.
I did the personality test, and it shot me out as a Slytherin. I was like,
well, I mean, there are good Slytherins.
There are good Slytherins, and I am a Scorpio, so it kind of makes sense. But anyways, Iced Tea is presented by Lane & Associates Family Dentistry. Now, Lane is not just a single office. They have offices all over North Carolina with 50 locations spreading across the state. Visit lanedds.com to find a location near you. All right. So, Adam, let's talk about what a home game day looks like for you, because you are a busy man. I see here. I see over at Lenovo Center. So start me off in the morning.
Well, okay, it depends on what I choose to do for that home game. So today, I actually went to the morning skate. I haven't been to a morning skate probably in 3 months. It's hard. The day job starts at noon, and I try to physically be here by 9:30 every day. My prep starts at 7 a.m. at my house. Actually, it never ends. You're always prepping for the show. It's everything you consume, whether it's a game the night before or whatever. It's never ending. But if I can get to a morning skate, if I feel like I've got everything buttoned down for the show, then I'll go to the skate. So I get there about 10. You're BSing about the team. You're really just having conversations, getting other people's input about what they think about the team, so I can formulate my own opinions and know that, okay, those people were wrong. Fine. But I like to go to the skate if I can, and I'll do some media after the skate in the locker room. I spoke to Seth Jarvis today, so it's literally one of my favorite Hurricanes ever to talk with.
Yeah,
he is special in so many ways. I wish people could experience Seth. He's just a nut. He's so good. And on top of the fact that he's a great player.
Of course. So put us in the room with you, since, a lot of us don't get to experience that media when you're in there. And what makes him so different?
Personality, approachable.
Yeah.
Friendly. Not everybody is friendly. I don't expect everybody to be friendly. There have been there are Hurricanes right now who are not necessarily friendly. And that's okay. They don't really like the media. And once you get a feel for who likes and who doesn't like the media, I'm okay with it. I don't need to, frankly, I'm not friends with any of them. It's hard to be a friend as a member of the media who has to talk and criticize.
Yeah.
Hopefully fairly. It's hard to be a friend to any of the players. Now, I have legitimate friends who are former players, and I became friends with them when they were players. But it's hard to walk that line.
That's a really good point.
Eric Cole is a friend.
Yeah.
Kevin Adams, who is now the general manager of the Buffalo Sabres, is a friend. I was friends with Jim Rutherford. We were not friends for about a year and a half because he was mad at me. But then we became friends again.
Would you say you and Rod are friends? Because I know y'all are pretty close.
Yeah, we don't hang out.
Sure.
But yeah. Rod is probably the most important person for me in terms of understanding what the Hurricanes are about. When people argue with me on Twitter about the Hurricanes, what they don't necessarily understand is that they are arguing with the head coach. A lot of times. A lot of the stuff.
That makes sense.
Like, I have my own opinions about players, but a lot of those opinions are shaped through my conversations with Rod and stuff that he has told me. This is well before he became the head coach. So, I've talked to Rod. It's funny how all of these relationships begin. My relationship with Eric Cole began in a very similar way. Rod was still playing. I've been covering the team since 2000. I moved down here in 99. I started covering the team like extensively. I don't know what word I was trying to come up with.
It works. It works. We love
whatever.
It.
I was about to make one up. But I had been covering the team extensively since like 2000 when they first moved here. And I was there during 2002. That first Cup run was ridiculous in how unexpected it was. And Rod was part of that. Not that Rod and I interviewed him, but it was after the Cup, and it was actually after 2009. And Rod's career was definitely winding down. And I think it was the 10-11 season when he gave the captaincy to Eric Staal. It was handled poorly, by the way. I felt bad for everybody involved. I felt bad for Rod because that's not the way he wanted it to go. I felt bad for Eric Staal because in the middle of the season is not the way to do it. My only criticism really of Jim Rutherford was like, why did you make that happen then? That should have been after the season. Regardless, it was before that season where we were there for exit interviews. And because I was extensively covering the team and the radio station was the flagship, we were there, spent the day doing interviews with all sorts of players. And Rod and I had a contentious back and forth because speaks to why it's hard to be friends with the people you're covering. And I had been like, it was clear to me that he was at the end. Like, it was going to be difficult for him to play at the level he was accustomed. And you have to say what you say.
Yeah.
What you say. As you know, to have any credibility, you have to be honest. But it was certainly not personal. And I was not critical of him as a player. I was just saying it's not the same. He isn't the same player. And we would say that about anybody who clearly isn't the same player. And Rod said, he basically accused me of counting him out. It's like, you've counted me out. And I'm only bringing this up because, first of all, I'm glad he was listening. And he does.
Yeah.
He texts me during the off season. It's really funny. He will text me about stuff that we're talking about that has nothing to do with hockey. He randomly, like I heard that. Like, it's so funny. He's one of my favorite people in the world.
That's amazing.
But it began in a contentious way because he felt like I was disrespecting him, the player. And I don't think I was, but it doesn't matter. And we talked it out then.
Wow.
Very simply. Same thing. Eric Cole, I don't have to get into the story, but same way. He thought I was criticizing him for something. I'm like, that's not what I meant at all. And we became friends. And Rod and I, from that point on, it wasn't too long after he became an assistant coach. And I used Rod and his brain to understand the game better, to understand players better. And when it became my beat, which is, he was still an assistant coach, where I was the Canes reporter, I used Rod. I remember sitting in my driveway having about a 90-minute phone conversation with Rod.
Wow.
About players. This is right before a draft. All right, I need to know, what do you think of this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy? And this is not about draftable players. It's about the roster that we had here already, to know what he thought about these players.
Yeah.
And, I mean, just an unbelievable resource of helping me understand the game and the players better. So I could not be luckier to have him trust me the way he does.
Exactly.
So there will be times where I will not criticize the head coach because I know he knows better than me and better than all of the people on social media. He's not trying to lose. He's not trying to put players in positions they can't be successful. He knows what he's doing.
Of course.
So I'm protective of him in that regard. I did criticize him last year in the playoffs.
What did you say?
He should have used both goalies more. That was my I think a fair criticism of Rod. We needed to see Pyotr Kochetkov earlier in the playoffs. Rod chose to try to win that series without him.
Yep.
Just Freddie, and it caught up to them because Freddie fell apart against the Rangers. But we'll see what happens this year. I think they'll use both goalies in the playoffs.
I think they'll continue their rotation.
I don't think it'll be 1-1. I don't think it'll.
Oh, you don't think so?
I don't think it'll.
Okay.
No, they've always alternated during the regular season for the most part.
Yeah.
And in the playoffs, Rod chooses a guy and goes with him until he has to change.
Got it. Okay.
But I don't think that'll be the case this year. I think it'll be more like, we'll just use numbers because I don't know who's going to be number 1 and number 2. Games 1 and 2, number 1. Game 3, number 2. Game 4, number 1.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be weighted to one guy, but not exclusive to one guy. I think it'll be both goalies.
And look at that.
There you
Full
go.
circle. The tea is being spilt on iced tea. We
Yeah.
love it.
By the way, thank you
We
for
love
this.
it. Oh,
Very
of
good.
course. Of course.
Very good.
It's only natural.
I had no tea when I was barging into your studio on Saturday.
It was in the fridge. I wish you would have called me. I would have got it
know.
for you.
I didn't know, and I couldn't use the microphones either. I didn't know how anything works in here.
Oh my, me neither. That's why we got Joe behind the wall over there. Okay, but let's circle back. So you go sometimes the morning skate. You come in, you do your show. That's okay. We're gonna
long answer. I didn't even answer the question.
We're having a conversation. We
That's
love
typical
this
to me,
about
though.
you. It's fine. I just want the people that are listening to this that maybe, of course, they probably mostly listen to you, but in case they don't, so it's the Adam Gold Show. You can catch it on 99.9 The Fan from 12 to 3 every single day. You break
even when I'm not here.
Yeah, that's right.
Christmas Day.
What happens on Christmas Day?
We have to feed the network, so there's a show.
Is it?
It might not air on 99.9 The Fan that day.
Okay.
But it airs across the network because we feed, I don't know how many affiliates,
Damn.
8, 9, I have no idea. But yes, we have to feed the network something. So Christmas Day, New Year's Day, if it falls on a weekday, we spit out a best of, whatever that is.
We love radio best of.
Best of. It's like this is just a bunch of interviews that we had.
It's just a compilation.
Yeah, that's fine.
But it's great stuff.
It just has to go.
Exactly. Okay, so you do that for 3 hours live show, which I don't know how you do it. That is just you're so talented. I know you have Victoria in there, but you are just rolling. You've got your interviews. You've got all that. It's you're very talented.
Thank you very much.
And so then you leave here and you go over to Lenovo Center when there's a game like we're about to be doing now or soon. When you get there, what happens?
It all depends. If like today I went to the morning skate, I really won't have much to do when I get there in terms of interviews. I am going to go seek out Brady Skjei before the game starts. And then I go up to the booth and I just prepare the pregame show. Pregame show goes on about a half hour before the TV broadcast.
Okay.
Yeah. So I start that process around 5:30.
Okay.
Doesn't take very long to script it out, but I do that. Then the game, I'm on during intermissions as well. You're busy during intermissions.
I'm on too.
You are. So I do the network during intermissions, and then when the game is over, there's a network wrap. Then we get right into the post-game show locally, and then I get about 15 minutes to prep, catch my breath,
Wow.
and we do the podcast.
So once you are done at Lenovo Center, you got to go back home, which is in Oxford, which is a little bit of a trek.
It's 45 minutes.
So you're
40
getting
minutes
home
from
pretty
the arena.
late.
Yeah, if the game ends at 10:40, or if I start the podcast at 10:40,
10:40, yeah.
which that's the goal. Sometimes I can get to it at 10:30, which is really nice. If I can walk out of the arena by 11:30, I'll be home and I'll be asleep by 1.
Oh, that's a long day.
Takes about 40. Yeah, well, we haven't even started about where my day starts.
Because this is a farm that you are on, right?
Ranch.
Ranch. We like ranch.
Yeah,
yes.
we like ranch because my wife has horses.
Okay.
Now, and if my wife has horses, and I love my wife, that means I have horses.
That's right. That's right.
So today and every day starts around 5.
Okay, so you don't sleep. Barely.
Well, when she takes my son to school, and they leave about 6:30.
Yeah.
So by 7, I go grab an hour nap.
Okay.
So like I did today.
Uh-huh.
It was a little less than an hour. I got about 40 good minutes. But I didn't have a hockey game last night.
Mm-hmm.
I was asleep before midnight last night.
Okay.
So look, if I can get 5 hours,
you're okay.
that's all right.
So do you have to start so early because you're out tending to the horses?
I can muck a stall.
I wish I was a horse girl. What does muck a stall mean?
Got to clean it.
And I'm sure there's a lot of muck in that stall, ain't it?
Yep.
And that's how Adam Gold starts
Every
his
day.
mornings.
Every day.
Oh, my
Yeah.
goodness.
The only time I don't start a day that way, I actually think my wife is off tomorrow, so I won't.
Okay.
So she'll take Jack to school.
Okay.
So I'll get
so you
tomorrow
get to sleep
off.
in.
Yeah, which
And
is still
not really.
no, it's still 6:30, but still, it's fine.
I do want to talk about
Whatever.
your son. I know he's very talented, but before we leave from your little setup and everything, the away games. We need to talk about this porch situation.
Yes.
So for the away games, you do your live show from your outdoor porch, which looks lovely. But these games are happening in January, in December.
Yes. All right. So
How cold are you?
well, I have a little space heater down here by my feet. I have done a couple from the kitchen table.
Okay.
Right. My son has commandeered the media room to his video games.
Oh, that's why you don't.
And
have
I don't
a
want to
room.
be caught dead in there. So that. But I deal with it.
You do.
I deal with it.
And us Caniacs appreciate it.
It's fine.
You really do take one for the team. Late nights, early mornings, mucking the shuck, whatever you're doing.
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
I'm a fast learner. Okay, so I could talk to you for hours, but and I know this is probably, a long journey. You've been doing this for a long time, but I really quickly wanted to mention that you are from New York City.
Yeah.
And when did your journey begin with radio?
My journey with radio began when I was a college freshman. Like, as a kid growing up who was a sports fan, who back when I grew up, there were actually not every game was on TV. Now, like, every game is televised. Every team, every game is televised. But when I was a kid, I grew up a Mets fan. I'm still a Mets fan. It's the only team from my youth that I'm still a fan of. About half the Mets games were on TV, but every game was on the radio. And I used to listen to whether it was the Mets or the Knicks or I was an Islanders fan as a kid. I used to listen to games on the radio. So I've always liked radio, but I never thought about doing it. But as a sports fan, I mean, that's your connection to teams that you love. But I never really thought about it, and I went to the University of Maryland, and I got to campus for orientation as we were getting ready for freshman year. And my intent was to major in history and go to law school. That was my intent. And during orientation, we were in one of the dining halls for lunch, and they said, by the way, right above us is the campus radio station. It's a full radio station. There's an FM and there's an AM. The AM is full top 40, but it's got news, sports. We do university sports play-by-play. And I'm like, oh man, that would be cool. So once school started, I went over to the radio station, talked to some people. I just wanted to get involved in doing it because as a kid, I just grew up loving listening to games on the radio. And I did some work on the football pregame show. My spot was to interview the opposing coach for whatever it was. So people know the name Joe Paterno. It's infamous now, but I didn't know then. And it was, 1984, fall of 84, when I did that. And there were other coaches. Every Maryland football game, I interviewed the opposing coach. We usually did it earlier in the week, but either way. So I did that, and then I started doing play-by-play for baseball.
Which is your first love.
Absolutely. That from sophomore, junior, senior year, that was my gig. I didn't do basketball, and I didn't do play-by-play for football. The first team I covered women's field hockey. So I got to know. So shouts to Sue Tyler, wherever Sue Tyler is, who was a legendary field hockey coach at Maryland. I covered the women's field hockey team.
Awesome.
I was the only person out there. There was no other media except, the school did.
Yeah.
Right? So I covered the women's field hockey team. And then I started getting into baseball. And my senior year, I covered 2 basketball games where I was the analyst, color commentator. One of my best friends in the world, Chick Hernandez, who does TV in Washington, D.C., was the play-by-play guy. And whoever was supposed, I don't even remember who the analyst was, wasn't able to go to the NCAA tournament that year. Maryland was in it in 1988. And he called me. He goes, "Do you want to do the games with me?" And I'm like, "Sure." I'm like, "Where are they?" I wasn't even sure. He goes, "I think they're in Cincinnati."
Wow.
So but I was still not intending to make this my profession.
Your career, yeah.
I was still going. I changed my major. I needed an easier major than history. I went to speech communications, which had nothing to do with broadcasting, but it had everything to do with classical speech, argumentation and debate, things like that. I minored in English. So, but I was going to go to law school. Westwood One, which was then called Mutual Broadcasting, the vice president of sports was a Maryland grad, and just came over to the radio station to talk to people who wanted to find out about a career in sports broadcasting. And so I went, and he goes, "Look, we're hiring part-time employees for the weekends. If you're interested, it's not a lot of money, but it'll show you what the business is about." There you go. That's how I got in it, by accident. It was never my intent to host a sports talk show. My voice was high-pitched and whiny. It still can be high-pitched and whiny. My voice was high-pitched. I didn't have a voice for radio. And somehow, how many years later?
I love that. It all worked out.
30-some-odd years later. Yeah.
No, I think your
worked
voice
out.
is great. I get very self-conscious about my voice because I have this rasp, and I always am like, oh, God, I must annoy people so much. But we love what we do.
And my voice isn't necessarily good for booming radio voice, but I don't do that.
No, you talk.
I talk on the radio.
You just talk. Yeah,
Just me.
which is great.
Yeah.
It's a great sound.
Thank you.
I love that everything was full circle and that it happened for you that way. Before we get into our last segment, there's one thing I did want to know. Is there anything like crazy shocking that has ever happened to you during your radio career, in a sense of maybe it was during an interview or when you were, doing a show, like just anything that was like, wow, that is going to be a moment, good or bad?
I haven't had anything bad happen. I've never been bothered by things happening around me.
That's great,
right?
Especially in this industry.
Yeah, I've never been. So I've always thought that, especially if you're doing a show from somewhere, the natural sound is fine.
Yeah.
So I've never been put out by, like, if two people are having a loud discussion, or so, as long as we don't have to beep something out.
Sure.
So that stuff has never bothered me.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
But so I don't have anything like that. But I have had the opportunity to, and I got started in the business not started, but part of my background is working with Larry King.
I did read that.
It was when he was on radio, not TV. I've never worked on a TV show. I've never worked in television at all, ever. But Larry used to do the radio show. That's how he got the TV show. So I've seen a lot of weird things there.
I'm sure.
So that's why I met Mr. Rogers.
You met Mr. Rogers?
I'll go one better.
Okay.
And this is absolute true. I sat with Mr. Rogers for 30 minutes. At the end of it, he called me special. We're done, right? Just that. It doesn't get better than that. It doesn't get better than that. 2 days later, I get a care package from Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
Stop it.
Right? Gonna make me cry?
I'm gonna cry.
With a little trolley and a CD with all of the original music. Yeah, it was for somebody who grew up. I grew up with Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
Same.
So it was one of the most memorable moments. And I didn't even have a career at that point. I can't even call it in my career because I didn't have one yet. So that was just amazing. I met a lot of cool people. There you go. There's your
Oh
Mr.
my
Rogers.
God, I was not expecting that.
You almost made me cry.
Because when you get told by Mr. Rogers that you are special and that happens, I mean, that you don't, that's the creme de la creme.
That's my story. That's like the biggest story I've got. I mean, I've seen some other things.
No, but that was incredible.
There you go.
Oh, thank you for sharing that with me. Okay, now we're going to have you on again.
You didn't think that was coming.
I did not see that coming.
First of all, you want to get to some other things. I hope this becomes a smash hit. I will come back as often as you want.
I was just going to say we need that because you and I need to get to the arena, but there are like so many things I want to ask you, but we're going to have you on again to get those. But there is a final segment, as you know. Okay. It is called Spill the Tea.
I'm not going to spill this, hopefully.
And don't spill that, but you can spill some other tea. All right, first question. You kind of answered this already, but do you ever text Rod for fun? He texts you.
Yes.
Love that.
Absolutely. 100% I text Rod for fun.
I love that.
And he texts me to tell me that I'm out of my mind about certain things. Like I said, he listens to the radio show, and he will text me if he disagrees with stuff I've said, or if something I say makes him laugh. He will text me.
I can only dream, and I will know I have made it someday if Coach Rod Brind'Amour even knows of this podcast's existence. That's how I know I made it.
I will see what I can do about getting him to come on. He is one of the best. He's such a good guy.
Adam, I just stopped breathing.
He has chickens. He doesn't. He has chickens like I have horses. Just leave it at that.
Okay. There's so much happening, and I can't contain myself. But we're going to move on because I just am ecstatic about that. Adam, you are the best. Okay. What trade hurt you the most?
Wow. I didn't like it when they traded Erik Cole. I had become friends with Erik Cole. I didn't like that.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, and I stayed in touch with Erik when he was in Edmonton. And I actually broke the news to him. Actually, in retrospect, he told me that I wasn't the first one to text him about it. Actually, a player who was involved in that trade texted him about it. Justin Williams texted Erik Cole about him being traded back to Carolina.
Oh, wow.
But when I heard about it, I texted him and I said, "So you're coming back?" And he goes, "I don't know. But yes, that one hurt. Erik he's a super guy.
Yeah.
I'm good friends with Erik today. So,
oh my gosh.
that one hurt.
I can imagine. You did kind of talk about this earlier, but I just want to make sure, unless it's different, all-time favorite Canes player.
All-time favorite Canes player. I mean, it's easy to say Rod because he's the most important person who has ever played here. It represented so much to have a player of his stature stay. And it wasn't about staying for money. He had realized that this was the right place for him. But I think my all-time favorite Canes player, because to me it encompasses a lot of different things, he's still pretty new in this whole process. I think it's going to be Jarvis.
Mm-hmm.
I love 100% of Seth Jarvis, 100%, to the point where I would consider a restraining order if I were him. I would.
Honestly, Jarvis gives us Caniacs, all of us fans, everything we could want as a fan. So I can totally see that. And he's so talented too.
I don't think he understands just how awesome he is. The whole package. Great player, super fun. I hope it all stays.
I hope so too.
Fresh for him.
I hope so too.
Because he is so good in every way.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, this one might seem weird, but as we know in radio, many people don't use their real names. Is your real name Adam Gold? Yep. You were just shining in gold right from the very start.
Yes, from the beginning. I know a ton of people who have changed their name for radio.
Yeah.
In fact, I already referenced one. My friend Chick Hernandez, who's in D.C., his real name is Carlos. And when he got into radio, he changed his name to Carl Hearn. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Why? Like, Carlos Hernandez is fine.
Yeah.
But so we ended up with Chick Hernandez. I helped him get to that.
Well, that is really cool. That's a cool name.
I helped him get to that. But anyway, yes, that's my name, Adam Gold.
People have asked me, they're like, what do you want to go by? And I'm like, I've started this life as Meghan LaMontagne, and LaMontagne is a mouthful, but we're just rolling with it. So Adam Gold is a perfect name.
It ends up being fun.
The most exciting thing you've experienced with the Canes besides the Stanley Cup, and we didn't even dive into that, and I wanted to, but if it was the Stanley Cup, go ahead and talk about that moment.
All right, well, in 2005-2006, the Hurricanes played 41 home games, however many home games there were in the playoffs, and I covered every single one of them except one. Why don't you guess the only game I was not present for in 2005-2006? I'll give you one guess. Yes.
Adam!
I was not at Game 7. All right, so here's the story, and it'll show you how devoted I am as a husband.
Okay.
So my wife and I got engaged in April of 2005.
Okay.
In Charleston, South Carolina. And the following year, we were going back for our 1-year anniversary. Same hotel room, exact same hotel room, all of that. And we had it planned for mid-June. We had these, plans, reservations, all booked out. And I looked at the schedule as we were getting into the playoffs. I knew Hurricanes were good all year. And I'm like, when is the Stanley Cup? So, here's the thing. Hurricanes led that series 3-1. Game 5 at home. Just win Game 5.
Sure.
They were the better team.
Yeah.
Just win Game 5 at home. I don't have to go back to Edmonton. Actually, I didn't go to Edmonton and send somebody else to Edmonton because our trip was starting the next day, so I didn't go to Edmonton anyway. Just win Game 5 at home. We celebrate the Cup. I go to Charleston.
We're good to go.
They lose in overtime, and my heart just goes, oh. So I've got two options. I could have gone. I could have driven. Charleston's not that far. Mm-hmm. I could have come back for the game, but I didn't. I watched Game 6 and 7 from the King Street Bar and Grill in Charleston, South Carolina, and there are several players whose name is on the Stanley Cup that have reminded me of that. You were here for every game but that one? So that's my answer to that question.
Adam, but what a good husband you are.
Yes.
Does she ever think back on that and she's like, you should have gone?
And I've stopped thinking about it, but I missed that. Fine. I don't really dwell on things like that, but I hope we get another one because I won't miss the next one. By the way, I did drink out of the cup.
Okay.
I went to John Forsland's house.
Yes.
And I went to his party. I drank out of the cup at Forsland's house.
That's an experience.
Oh, tremendous. And John is one of my all-time favorite humans as well. But I look forward to this team winning a Stanley Cup so I can celebrate it with that coach.
Yes. And that brings me to the last question.
Okay.
Right here at 3:58 on March 25th. What are the chances this is the year for Carolina?
I call them a secondary cup contender.
Okay.
They don't have the high end offensively that Florida has, that Tampa has. I think they're the next best team behind those two. I think in the West, there are probably 3 other better choices to win the Stanley Cup. But this is what I will say about the Cup. That Edmonton team that nearly beat Carolina, incredibly similar to this Hurricanes team. You don't necessarily need all of those. You just need it to come together at the right time. And I will say that there is something about this group that I think is better than the individual parts. If they get good goaltending, I think they'll win a couple of rounds in the playoffs. And if you can get to the conference finals, and they weren't better than Florida 2 years ago and got to the conference finals, and they lost in that 70 overtime game in the opener.
Oh, God. We all remember that.
If they win that game, I think it becomes a little bit of a different series. Does Carolina win it? I don't know. But losing in, 12 hours of hockey that's a tough one to come back from. Now, they could have won every game of that series. They didn't win any.
Mm-hmm.
But I give them a puncher's chance simply because I think there is something about this team that really gets each other. So I give them a chance. To me, they're like the fifth or sixth team that I would choose to win the Cup.
Yeah.
Not personally, but as somebody watches the game. But look, if they're healthy, if they can stay healthy, it would really help if Andre came back and started to score goals.
Yeah.
This team has missed whatever version, the best version of Andrei Svechnikov we haven't seen all year.
Yeah.
So they need him. If they get him playing at the height of his powers, then Carolina might rise up a little bit. But we haven't seen that all year.
Yeah.
So we need to see that. But that's where I put them there.
Well, your story prior to that gave me goosebumps. And for that, for us, for all of Caniac Nation, and for you, let's hope that we see it sometime soon.
I know it's a multi-year contract. I really think Rod's contract is the same length as Jordan Staal's, which is 2 more years after this.
Right.
Now, he can coach. Rod can be the head coach of the Hurricanes for as long as he wants to be the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody is saying, Rod, I think it's over. No. Rod will determine when it's over.
That absolutely.
So, but I think they'll win one. I do. I think they will win one, and I hope that I am in the room when they win one. It'll be the first Canes Corner podcast done from the locker room.
Oh, my God.
I will figure out a way to do the whole thing on my phone.
Yes, you will.
And I will be walking around. I'm sorry. It's just a podcast. You can say whatever you want.
Oh, yeah.
And I will sit down next to Seth Jarvis. And
I'll be your crew. I'll just hold the camera for
you.
You just do what you do, and I'll be your crew.
Seth, work as blue as you want. We had to beep him out today.
Yeah, that does not surprise me.
Yep, we did. Thanks for the iced tea.
And Adam, on that note, thank you so much for joining me on the Iced Tea podcast. And we got to get out of here because there's a game.
There is a game
happening.
Yep.
So thanks so much for joining me for another episode of the Iced Tea podcast. And thanks to our presenting sponsor, Lane & Associates Family Dentistry. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe and share this with someone you know.